Hey guys, we've got an exciting podcast for you all. We've got Ethan Quinn who is joining us. Ethan Quinn went to University of Georgia and then he left college very early and then he turned professional, which involved him being in the US Open. So I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I hope you enjoy. Bro, I appreciate your time because I know how busy you are and how locked in you are right now. It's an important time of your career. So to steal 20 minutes of your day means a lot to me. And I know it will mean a lot to the kids as well. So just diving straight into it, man. I know you're American, so hence
Yeah.
the accent.
Yeah.
You're not an international, and it's quite interesting, man, because you had such an incredible junior career. You were like top in the world in the juniors, under 18s. You would have had those conversations with your family, like, do I go pro right away or do I go to college? How did that conversation sort of flow with your family when you were 17, 16 years old? Was college always something that you wanted to do? How did that come about?
Yeah, it's funny actually. When I was about 16 years old or 15 years old, I played in my first future. Like I got in a wild card, and my coach at the time had kind of told me the route. It's like you can either go the junior ITF route or you can go the ITF men's route. And either way, you can play slam qualies if you have a high enough ATP ranking or if you're high enough ranked in juniors. And I was fully planning on playing just ITF men's tournaments, trying to get into junior slams that way. I was going to try and avoid the junior route. My family it didn't really work for me. I was in regular school. So for me to go spend a lot of weeks on the road in foreign countries was going to be challenging. There's a lot of futures in the States. I was pretty good, so I was hoping that I could get some wild cards from USTA, even if it was just in the qualies at these tournaments. So I was planning on doing that, and then COVID happened, actually, and it kind of delayed everything. It stopped ITF juniors, stopped ITF men's tournaments, and so I didn't really know what I was going to do. I lost a year of being able to compete, really. But then finally, middle of COVID, I guess you'd say, there was two J1s in California, which is where I'm from. So I played in those two J1s. USTA helped me out with wild cards, and I actually won one and I finaled one. So right away, I was top 100 in the world juniors after just two tournaments. I finaled doubles as well. So it's like within those two tournaments, I was already top 100 of the world. I really just needed one more good result, and I was to be in the slam qualies after literally playing two events. And so that kind of forced my hand a little bit. I wanted to play the ITF men's route, but juniors it was calling my name, I guess you'd say. So then I decided just to follow that and continuously did well. Eventually got up to 14 in the world, and at that time I wasn't even thinking about going full pro. The entire time with that, I was always thinking about going to college. My mom, she really wanted me to get a degree, and I fully thought that I was going to compete at whatever school I chose for 4 years. I never had that thought in my mind that I was going to win NCAAs as a freshman and then quickly go off and become a pro tennis player. But yeah, my family, we always thought that going to school was going to be the best route for me and my development. And honestly, I went to school early. I don't know if you had known that. I went to school early, and that was kind of because my family thought that was going to be the best for my tennis as well. I mean, being in Fresno, there wasn't a lot of tennis players. I had one of the best tennis coaches out there, Brad Stein. So he's an amazing coach, but when I didn't have anyone to practice with, it makes it really challenging. So he honestly thought it was a good idea for me to go to school early, redshirt, be able to train and practice with the team, but also still maintain a pretty highly competitive travel schedule. I played a few futures. I played a few ITFs while I was in school as a redshirt freshman. And so that's kind of that was my route. And now I'm here at the US Open after just a few years, or just a year on tour.
Mate, it's an absolute incredible junior career that you had. One question I've got, I mean, you've touched on all the incredible achievements that you've had, and that's only scratching the surface, guys. There's so much more that Ethan has done. How did you handle dealing with pressure at such a young age?
I think it's actually my coaches. I think my coaches were able to kind of make it feel like it's all right. It's just another match. It's when I was 18, I came to US Open for the first time, and I played a qualies match here against Ernesto Escobedo, who was ranked, I want to say he was ranked like 170 in the world at the time. And my coach is like, dude, what do you have to lose? Like, just go out there and have fun and compete. Like, this is gonna be the best atmosphere you've played in. And he was absolutely right. I was on court 17 at the US Open. You know, there's a few thousand people watching me and everyone was cheering for me. So I was able to just play loose and kind of have fun. And then kind of throughout my college career as well, my coaches were able to kind of remind me that it's just like, all right, it's just another match. I was playing NCAA finals, you know, US Open main draw wild card on the line, and I saved 4 match points in that finals match. And so they kind of just made sure to remind me every single time that it's just like, dude, it's just another match. Like, just go out there and enjoy the process. And honestly, I mean, with how old you are, I mean, you're 19 years old, you're in the NCAA's final. Just go out there and have fun. Like, you technically shouldn't be in this position. Like, you shouldn't be in this big of a moment, but you know, just take it and run with it is kind of what they were saying. And I think I did that pretty well.
Yeah, man, you definitely did. I mean, I watched some of the highlights on YouTube, dude. It was absolutely incredible. The way that you compose yourself in these big moments, because I've had the opportunity to interview some awesome people. About 3 weeks ago, we had an All Black from New Zealand, one of our rugby players,
Okay.
on a podcast. And I was saying to him, you know, when you're in these high pressure environments and you've got thousands of people like cheering your name and firing you up, like, how do you sort of like dial the noise down a little bit and just lock into what the task is at hand? I mean, what sort of things go through your mind when you're in these high pressured and like, you know, high energetic and vibrant situations?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just try and enjoy it all. You know, it's not every day that you're getting to compete and play in these moments, you know. I can just remember looking back at some of these college matches that I had, and it's like sometimes I wish I still had those moments. Being on the Challenger Tour, sometimes there's not many times you get to play in front of people. But then you look back and you're at school and you're like, man, there's 4,000 people watching me play against Liam Draxel, who's another top college player. I mean, it was just an epic environment. Just, you know, I was just trying to enjoy the entire moment. Looking back, I probably wish I enjoyed it even more. You know, it's like when you win a point and you hear everyone barking and everyone's just cheering your name, like you were saying, it's just that all you can do is really smile and then just like you get chills. Honestly, I look back and I see these videos and I just get chills of listening to the crowd just erupt. And so I think that's the best way to handle the moments. Just enjoy it and smile, because it's not every day that you get to live in that moment.
You know, let's talk about college. And there's a funny story that I'm going to share with you in a second. But I mean, being a 16-year-old, going to college a little bit earlier than other, you know, high school athletes, having the ranking that you had, you would have had a lot of offers. I mean, I remember going to the US Open in 2017 with the G, and his like world ranking for juniors was like 67 or 68. And man, he had everyone coming at him. Like, we met with like Baylor, Clemson, Duke, UNC, UCLA, like all these programs wanted him. I mean, and your ranking was even higher than that. How did you like deal with that process? It would have been so overwhelming for you because they all have got the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every school, it's hard to find a school that doesn't have a resource. You know, every school has unbelievable resources. Everyone has unbelievable programs. Especially when you get to a certain level, it's hard to really decide what's better than the others. I know for myself, I really wanted to go to a school that had like a massive football program. I was just a sports guy. I loved being able to enjoy other sports, enjoy other moments that wasn't just tennis. I really wanted to be in a place where there was just an environment that was just like positioned for success, whether it was tennis, whether it was football, just surround yourself with other athletes that are trying to do the most amazing things in the world in sports. So when I was going through that process, it was extremely overwhelming. I remember the first day recruiting was allowed. I woke up that next morning and I had over 100 missed phone calls, 100 like voicemails. I had like 600 I had text messages, Instagram DMs. Like, it was an absolute I was so overwhelmed. I like showed my mom. I gave her my phone. I was like, Mom, like, what the heck do I do? And she's just like, all right, like, today, like, you just need to sit down and like, first of all, make contacts of all the people that have messaged you. So it's like, now if you look at my phone, it's like you can see like, all right, you have Coach Denton from A&M, you have Coach Manny Diaz, Georgia, Coach Brian Shelton, Florida, like whatever schools it might be. You know, I really had to make sure I was organized with the whole process. That way I was able to kind of just that way filter through who everyone was, what everyone was saying. And then from then on, it was just trying to schedule as many phone calls as possible, just trying to kind of hear from everyone to try and find what was a little bit different. And the thing for me was I really appreciate it when schools had already had seen me play. A lot of the times coaches are reaching out to you and they just see your ranking, they see your UTR, they see whatever the numbers might be. But if they can't tell you what you do well and what you are as a player, I feel like that's not as encouraging for me to go there, because the school is just kind of reaching out based off of what I've done rather than from what they've seen. And I think Manny and Jamie at UGA. Jamie was the first college coach to watch me play as a tennis player that I remember. I remember going to I think I was 15. I went to an 18s USTA national tournament. No coaches were there, and Jamie Hunt was there. First person I saw in the crowd, sitting right across from me when I was sitting down on the bench, and knowing that he had kind of been to the lowest of lows of tournaments kind of made me feel special when I got to see him at these amazing tournaments. So I think that was really important when I was going through that process, making sure that I knew I was wanted and I knew that schools knew who I was as a player, not just as a number.
Because Jamie at University of Georgia, he had a great playing career as well. He did very well for the college.
Absolutely.
He's an alumni. And I know that I've exchanged a few messages with them back in the day with some of our boys. We got Jack Loutzit at Kentucky right now.
Yep.
And you've been in touch. In terms of getting coached by Jamie, you've had this coach in Fresno that developed you so well for the last 16 years, or however, whenever you started playing tennis, that is. And now you're with Jamie. How was the synergy between the coach that developed you and now your college coach?
Yeah, so Brad was very he kind of handed off the torch in a way. If you asked him yourself, he would say that when I got to school, he really wanted to make sure that the words that my college coaches were saying to me, that I was listening to what they were saying. He really didn't want there to be these multiple voices in my head, that one thing's telling me this and one thing's telling me that. He really wanted to make sure that all the key things were coming from my college coaches. That way I wasn't trying to override what Jamie or Manny were saying, or override what Brad was saying, because Jamie, what he just was trying to make sure that it was all just one message being conveyed. Obviously, if Brad felt like there was something that needed to be talked about, he would text me individually and he would message me and be like, hey, I think you really need to focus in this area. For example, when I went home after my first season of my fall year, we really worked on my forehand and spacing me backwards in the court. While I was at school, I was kind of pressing the baseline a little too much. And for those that know me, my swing is pretty big on my forehand side. So by giving me enough space stepping backwards, I was then able to produce a better tennis ball and really put myself in a position where I was in control of points a little bit more than really kind of receiving the ball and confronting the bounce and just putting myself in a bad position. So that was one, for example, that was one thing that he really made sure that I knew, so that I would be able to get the results that not only that I wanted, but also that he wanted to see, and what Jamie and Manny were looking for when they recruited me.
That's awesome, man. And going to University of Georgia, I've heard about the tennis matches at University of Georgia. So this is the story I wanted to share with you. So there's a tennis coach in New Zealand named Remy Fionn, and he has got a ring, and he's a bulldog. He went to university. Yeah, bro. He went to University of Georgia because I flew down to a city in New Zealand called Christchurch, and I did a presentation at Wilding Park, which is a tennis facility here. And afterwards, Remy came up and shoulder tapped me. He goes, I'm a bulldog, eh? I was like, yeah, I know you went to University of Georgia. And he said, bro, look at this. And he picks out his ring out of his pocket and shows me. And I was like, no way.
Oh, so man, that's amazing. That is amazing. He's probably in an alumni group chat with me, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. But he told me, man, he said that what you said about getting chills about playing in front of these crowds, that's exactly what he told me. It's literally word for word. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words, honestly, the atmosphere of playing at University of Georgia. The top three courts are arguably the best three courts in all of college tennis. Doesn't matter what anyone says. Just the atmosphere of a doubles point on those courts, or even when you're top of the lineup in singles, it's just surreal. I mean, you have the Tennis Hall of Fame on one side, and then you have a tennis stadium that's, I can't even tell you how many rows high. It's maybe 30, 40 rows high, just absolutely lined and filled with people. And I think the best part of it all is that they're cheering for you. If you're a Georgia player, they're cheering for you. It's when you win a big point and you look up the crowd and everyone's like stomping their feet on the metal bleachers and barking and just going absolutely nuts. It's hard to even put it. You just look at it almost stunned. And when you go to like serve the next point and it's absolutely silent, you're like, oh my gosh, like thousands of eyes are looking at me right now. Like you're almost shaking, even if you're a Georgia player. You're almost more tight if you're a Georgia player, because you know all these people want it so bad for you that it's such an amazing experience. And my redshirt year, I there was the SEC championships were in Georgia, and I remember talking to Manny and Jamie. At that point, I was still redshirting. I was like, Manny, like I think I want to like can't stop my red shirt. Like I think I want to play. Like I want to be able to play SECs here. And he was just like, like I don't know. Like you could have the 2026 national championships here. Like think about that. That crowd's going to be unbelievable. Like national championships compared to SEC championships. And it's like that might be the only regret I have in college, was not playing that SEC championships in Georgia, because I can just only imagine a tournament of that significance being played on your home courts, just what the feeling would have been like playing in front of that many people.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine, man. I mean, I've seen only videos of these matches at University of Georgia, and I'm like, it must set yourself up quite nicely going into the professional round and playing at
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to being able to play here at the Open. Just, hopefully having a few Bulldogs there as well. I mean, a lot of the times wherever I go, I have actually a joke with a few of the guys on tour that's like, every time I play them, it doesn't matter if I'm in Champaign, Illinois, or Cleveland, Ohio, or in California, there's people with Georgia hats on, and they're barking and they're cheering for me. And it's a family. It's a family playing for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, man, I can imagine. How did it help, like, having a tennis coach on court? Because obviously college tennis style is a bit different to pro. Like pro, you can't get much interaction with your coach, but you had Jamie there coaching you through some tough moments. Did that help you with the transition from going to college to pro?
Absolutely. I mean, they were able to kind of give me a view that I didn't see. They were able to tell me things that maybe I wasn't seeing while I was playing the points, patterns that I was maybe getting stuck in that weren't in my advantage. They're just able to really calm me down as well. A lot of the times when we go over to changeovers after I maybe just got broken, or I had break points and I didn't break, a lot of times they come over to me and be able to just like calm me down, because it's like some of those times when the energy is so high and you don't convert the break point, or you don't hold your serve, you're able to spiral negatively a little bit. Because I mean the games are a lot shorter. Deuce points get really frustrating, a lot of pressure on them, and when you don't convert them, it feels like maybe the world is over. But Manny, Jamie, and then our assistant Will, a lot of times they would come onto my court, and I'd just look at them like, hey, can you guys tell me a joke? Like, just tell me something to get my mind away from the fact that I just got broken. And they were able to do just such a great job, just calming me down and being able to get me into the right headspace before starting that next game, to where I could be in a position to possibly break right back, or be able to start up early in a game on my serve. It's really nice having coaches being able to kind of sit there with you and talk through the moments, because even if your mind wanders a little bit, you're able to tell them, hey, like my mind's thinking about this, and then they're able to kind of guide you in a direction to get you back into playing the match. And, sometimes when I'm out there on the tour by myself, I'm up setting a break, and sometimes I'm like, oh, like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? And it's just like having a coach there sitting there with you is able to, like, all right, like, match isn't over yet. Job's not finished. Like, all right, let's finish this, and then we can talk about dinner. And so it was really nice being able to have coaches there to kind of guide you the right way, or bring you back to reality.
What made you decide to end your college career and just go straight into the pro system? Were you like, you had a taste for those like wild cards going into slams? You're like, this is it, I'm all in?
Yeah, it was kind of that. I knew that winning NCAAs was going to put me in a position where I had a lot of opportunities to play high-level tournaments, There was the Challenger wild cards that I was given being a top player in college. You got the 8 wild cards. So I knew I had the high end, very high end tournaments with Masters 1000 and 250s and US Open main draw. But I also was able to balance it out by getting wild cards into futures and Challenger main draws, where I was able to kind of go across the range of tournaments. I was able to build some confidence in the Challengers and futures that were then able to give me the chance to play a lot better in the bigger tournaments. So I mean, that was part of it, but also my coach Brad, he sat me down after I'd won NCAAs, and he told me, he's just like, hey, like, I think that if you want to become a pro tennis player in the future, he's like, the time to do it is right now. Your stock as a tennis player and as a player to be able to get brand deals is at an all-time high right now. There's only been 4 freshmen who ever have won NCAAs, and it's like John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors were 2 of the other ones. So to be part of a name class like that, a lot of companies are going to be looking to endorse you. And if you're able to get those endorsements, you're able to fund your career, or at least your year. So he was just like, this is a really great opportunity for you to do this. Not many guys that are 19 are able to get contracts of this size, or any contracts at all, honestly, if you're not ranked inside 200. And at the time I was ranked maybe 600, and I still had this high stock price. So he's just like, I really think this is good for you. And honestly, what more can you win in college? You've already won SECs as a team. You've won NCAAs as a freshman. The only thing else you can do is win a team championship. And honestly, that's just a coin flip. There's so many colleges that were very good last year. And it doesn't come down to if you were the best player in the country. It's all about if your team was able to kind of step up to the moment. And so he was just like, I think that's too much of a coin flip to miss a year of being on tour. Like, I think you need to go out and try your best to see what you can do.
I completely agree with your coach, man, because obviously in today's market right now, there's a lot of money going into athletes, and if you do really well in high pressure environments, people want to get amongst that. I mean, we got a golf athlete right now that, we're talking NIL deals, and it's just crazy. Like, crazy
it's silly
money.
Silly money. It's silly.
It's nuts, man. I was looking at the price that this NIL company is going to give one of my recruits, and I was like, man, I wish I was playing. It would have been nice.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's one thing I was like, man, maybe I go back to school just for a year and try and clean up a little bit. But, I'm happy to be still out here on tour and playing.
Yeah, bro, absolutely. And, I mean, cliche podcast question, what advice would you give your younger self, man, at like 14, 13 years old that was about to go through this process?
To go out and explore. A lot of times, I mean, when you're out here and you're going to new cities every week, it's very easy to get stuck in routines. It's very easy if you're maybe in a slump to get stuck in doing things that are kind of in that slump routine. It's like you get to the hotel and you order Uber Eats and you relax, you sit and watch Netflix, and you just kind of lay low. I mean, it's pretty amazing to be 20 years old, and I've flown over to Europe multiple times this year. I'm in New York City now. It's like these are some of the greatest cities in the world. And so I really recommend to try and go out and explore, to go do unique things, because I mean, tennis is only for so long. You're not going to be able to travel the world for your job through the rest of your life. So to be able to go out and explore and enjoy unique cuisine and unique places, I think you should really do that. I mean, today we flew into New York today, and right away my coach and I we're walking to find this like Italian deli, just that's like world class apparently. And I mean, well, not apparently, we tried it and it was pretty unbelievable. So to make sure that you go out and try and explore these new places rather than going to Chipotle every single week.
That's it, man. Hey, I love Chipotle. I'm not going to lie.
It's good. But there's a lot more out there in the world. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. Like, I went to the US Open when I was there with the Jeet, and a few of my mates from New Zealand are lawyers in New York. So we went out and we hung out with them, which was cool. And they took me to a few spots, which is awesome. And I think having that Kiwi accent definitely got us past the line a couple of times. Like, where are you from?
Yeah, exactly.
But No, it was good fun, man. And to wrap this up, like, what are some advice you can give to kids that kind of might be on the fence for college? Because especially here in New Zealand, we're so far away, man. We've only got 5 million people in our country. We're a small country. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of athletes, like Ajit was one of them, my brother, he said, I don't want to go to college. I just want to go pro. And now we kind of re-looking at it, he's like, actually, I wouldn't have mind being in like a team environment. What are some advice that you could give to some young kids that are going through this decision-making process?
I think it's really important to look at what's important to you, if that makes sense. I think it's, if you want to have a team environment that is supportive, that is pushing you, and I think that's a great route. You know, if you want people to be able to push you to exceed, if you maybe aren't quite as good, and like if you maybe have played a few professional tournaments, whatnot, I think if you really want people to push you, I think it's a great possibility. I even think that if you want to try and do it as almost like a stepping block to the pro levels, I think it's incredible. The level of college tennis is as possibly at an all-time high right now. I mean, you look at players that are playing 4, 5, 6, and they have ATP points. So you know that wherever in the lineup you play, you're going to be competing. But then also, I think if you really want to try and get your body into the highest pro level, like, I mean, that was one thing when I went to school. I was looking at trying to get into my pro body as fast as I can. And I think it's really important when you're at school, they provide a gym for you. They provide trainers. They provide physios. They provide equipment in order to get your body healthy. I think that's phenomenal. If you're injured or you've been had an injury that's been kind of ongoing, I think it's a really smart idea to be able to go there and try and get the best doctors in the world and the best staff in the world that's going to be very dedicated to you as a player, because they want you to be able to compete. So I think there's a lot of great resources that you can kind of look at in order to be able to get to that next level where you want to be. Like you said, I think a lot of players that went pro early are now kind of almost regretting that decision because they see what college can provide. I mean, NIL now is huge. It's also providing some cash. So guys, when they do finish their college career, can go right onto tour and know that they can afford the first few years, because I mean, it's not a cheap sport. When you have a full team that you're paying for and you're traveling across the world, there's a lot of expenses that you have to cover. So being able to kind of develop and get to the best tennis level, but also be able to get some cash and keep your body healthy, I think is really important for players as they start their career.
Mate, you've nailed it on the head. That is the perfect response, and I think one that a lot of parents would have loved to have heard. So thank you so much for your time, man. I'm not going to keep you up too much longer. I know it's late there. And mate, I just want to say the whole platform team, bro, is behind you. We're going to be getting on the TV, getting after it, man. So
exactly.
We cannot wait for you to tear it up over there. And mate, if you come to New Zealand for the ATP 250 before the Aussie Open, you got a home here, man. Whatever you need.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
Of course. Have a good rest of your day, man.
Thanks, Ethan. I'll cut that there, bro. Thank you so much for that, bro. That was awesome.
Absolutely. I love helping out. It's always fun getting to kind of just do something different. You know, I love getting to talk on podcasts and be able to help guys. You know, I wish I had people that were able to help me when I was going through those decisions. So I'm just happy to help some other guys, hopefully.
It's tough, man. I think that one really helps because a lot of kids like just want to go pro all the time, and they don't understand that if they do that, they're leaving their 4-year eligibility clock, and it could hurt them if they want to.
100%. Yeah, 100%. They're losing. They're leaving a lot on the table and missing out on something that could be really great for them, for sure.
Yeah, not easy, bro. But look, I want to keep you, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, dude.
Always happy to help. If you ever need anything, just let me know, and we'll talk soon.